Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Bianca and welcome to the family. So today I am finally doing my 2024 most anticipated releases. It is February. A couple of these books are already out, but I do still want to put out my books. Okay, so I have 40 that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to try and be really quick so this video is not incredibly annoyingly long. If you see me looking down, I do have my iPad, which has the name, the titles, dates, and like a little blurb. So that's what I'm looking at. And I still can't get rid of the glare in my glasses, whether I'm using the ring light or my window. So we're going to work with it. So the first book that is on my list is one that is obviously already out because these books came out in January. So this is A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft, which came out January 2nd. And my interest in this really, it's a romantasy, and there's royal drama because it's between a royal dressmaker and the prince. So the royal dressmaker is there to make the prince's wedding attire, and then there's a rumor started where a romance crops up between them. So it just sounds really good. I really want to read it. The next one is one that I actually own. This is First Light Winds by Ashley Elston. This came out January 2nd, and this is a mystery thriller about a girl who has everything but she doesn't exist. That just sounds really interesting, so very much look forward to that. Then the next one is the next book in the Wayward Children's, or in this case the most recent in the Wayward Children's series, by Seanan McGuire, and this is Mislaid in Parts Half Known. This came out January 9th, and like I said, it's just the next book in the Wayward Children's series. I started the series last year. I believe I made it through the first 3 books or something, but I really enjoyed what I read. I believe every book was 5 stars, so I do want to continue with that series. The next book is The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. This came out January 9th. This just sounds really interesting with family drama and secrets. Also, there's like rich people drama and a famous kidnapping. It really caught my attention. So this one follows heiress Ruby McTavish Callahan Woodward Miller Kenmore, who dies and is most famous for getting kidnapped and then, coming back. But she leaves her fortune to her adopted son Camden, and he wants nothing to do with it. And then years later, when I believe the inheritance comes back around, his girlfriend or wife encourages him to take it, and they get sucked into the mystery of the family. So, family drama. The next one is Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. This is by Heather Fawcett. It is the sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and it came out on January 16th. That's really just it. I picked it up because it's the sequel. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what the synopsis is. I don't know what the book's about. But because it is the sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, it's on my list. Still haven't read the first book, though. It's just me. This book was definitely a cover buy. This cover is gorgeous. Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. This came out January 18th. I believe it's kind of like a sci-fi. It's giving me sci-fi vibes, but it might not. I don't know. So this ship goes on a 12-day voyage after like thousands of years of peace to celebrate it, and then one of the heirs of the 12 provinces of this country or land or whatever is murdered, and now they're all stuck on a boat. So it might be a fantasy. I don't know. Then of course we have House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J Maas. This came out on the 30th. It's the 3rd book in the Crescent City series, and I love Sarah J Maas, so there's that. There's not much else. I don't want to know what the book is about, because I haven't read Crescent City yet and you know there are going to be spoilers, I am making my way through Throne of Glass. I finished ACOTAR last year. I read Throne of Glass. I have to continue with Throne of Glass, and then I'm going to pick up Crescent City. Saying that, I really hope I enjoy Throne of Glass because I have all of the books and I have the cutie little baby editions. So that is where my life is right now. Then we have The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. This also came out on January 30th. I have been waiting for this book to come out since last year. It has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So this is a YA fantasy with like horror aspects. A murdered sister, a deal with a demon, and a dark past that has come back to haunt. So it follows 3 young women who team up to stop a killer. So it just sounds really interesting. And I'm like, it's been put off and put off. So I'm glad it's finally out. Okay, and now we move on to February. And this book came out yesterday. And that is Bride by Ali Hazelwood, which came out on the 6th of February. And it's a vampire werewolf romance and a marriage of convenience. But mostly it's because it's Ali Hazelwood. So there's that. Then we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. This comes out February 13th. I don't know much. It takes place in a school. It's dark academia setting. It's sapphic. And there's a controlling, suspicious teacher. So I do believe I remember it mentioning Carmilla, and whether this is the same Carmilla that, you know, is the first female vampire, I don't know. But I didn't love Carmilla. Still, I really enjoyed A Dowry of Blood, so I do want to read more by S.T. Gibson. Then we have A Tempest of Tea. This is by Hafsa Fazal. This comes out February 20th, and it's the first in a duology. An orphan girl and her crew get into a heist with vampires. With her tea room threatened, Arthur gets together a group of misfits to infiltrate vampire society, but not every member is on her side, and there is a conspiracy afoot. That just sounded really good. I mean, vampires, tea room, they say it's great for fans of like Six of Crows, but I think they do that for like every heist book. So there's that. And then we have Where the Darkness Stands Still by A.B. Pornick. That comes out February 27th. So in this small village where magic is viewed as monstrous and those who use it are monsters, a girl unleashes her magic with devastating effect and is offered a deal by the demon warden of the wood. And it's a fantasy romance. And I'm thinking it's bad guy gets the girl. And I'm still off my high from Assistant to the Villain, so this is giving me those vibes. Whether she's sunshiny like Evie in Assistant to the Villain, I don't know, but still looking forward to that. Then we have Heartless Hunter by Kristen Chigarelli. This comes out February 29th, and it's a cat and mouse game between a witch and a witch hunter, and is very much giving me like Serpent and Dove vibes. And I loved Serpent and Dove. The whole trilogy was really good. So a witch vigilante who throws witch hunters off her trail by courting a notorious and unforgiving witch hunter, but finds herself falling for him. Sounds amazing. Then we have The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This comes out March 5th. It's the next book in the Stolen Heir duology. Still haven't read Folk of the Air trilogy, but I want this one too. So there's that. I have read The Cruel Prince. I haven't read The Wicked King or Queen of Shadows, or Queen of Nothing, whatever it is. But still. Then we have one of my favorite authors. This is Murder Road by Simone St. James, and it comes out March 5th. I love all of her books, but this one is just a couple finds themselves haunted by a string of gruesome murders committed along one old deserted road. Sounds awesome. And I like Simone St. James's writing because there's always like a paranormal aspect or something, and there's always not always, there's usually like a romance, like not even a subplot, because it's just like a taste of it. But if you know me, you know I love my romance. So And speaking of romance, this next one is Wild Love by Elsie Silver, which comes out March 20th. And ever since I read the Chestnut Springs series, I've been on an Elsie Silver kick. And this follows Willa's brother. So Willa from Heartless follows her brother. And he's struggling to open his new recording studio, is introduced to an unknown preteen daughter, and has to resist his best friend's sister. So many good tropes in there. So many. Okay. Then we have The Good, the Bad, and the Aunties. This is by Jessie Q. Sutanto and is set to come out March 26th. I loved Dial A for Aunties. Loved it. It was so funny. It was so much fun. I actually think I'm going to reread it because I loved it that much. And then there was Four Aunties and a Wedding, and I have not read that one, but I'm gonna have to because I want to read this one. This one just sounds so good. But I did start it and I just wasn't gripped by it. But that ain't gonna work because we gotta read The Good, the Bad, and the Aunties. So in this one, the aunties are back for Chinese New Year. Second aunt's passed, comes back to visit when an old boyfriend comes to win her back. I don't want to give too much away because, like I said, it's the third book, but that's just like a gist of what the book is about. And then How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. This is also set to come out March 26th. This one sounds great. So, as a teen, Frances Adams predicted her murder. Everyone dismissed it as a flair for her, being dramatic. And then over half a century later, she's proven right. Too bad she's not around to gloat. So her grandniece, Annie, is determined to unravel what happened to Frances, even if it puts her own life on the line. How awesome is that? She predicts her death, then is murdered like centuries or decades, a century later. And that's just great. Next, we have another one that I'm like highly anticipating. So this is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. Set to come out April 2nd. This is the same author that wrote The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I loved that book. So this was just an automatic addition. As soon as I saw the cover, I added it to my most anticipated releases list. But this one follows Sierra, who did some big magic. So as a result, she lost most of her powers. So she moves to Lancashire, where she learns about an old spell book that may be able to like return her magic to what it was because she was really powerful. And as she's looking for that spell book, she turns to Luke, who is a gorgeous icy historian who might be able to help her. So I love this. It sounds like it has family aspects and also like a self-discovery, along with a romance with a grumpy love interest. So just yes. Also, there is a semi-villainous talking fox. I love any book that has like a talking sidekick who's also kind of iffy, you know what I mean? Like they could be scrappy and kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Sassy. They're sassy. So I have a feeling this semi-villainous fox is going to be sassy. So very much looking forward to that. Then we have Just for Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is set to come out April 2nd also. This one is just, what did I read by Abby Jimenez? Oh, Part of Your World and Yours Truly. Read those last year and really, really enjoyed them. So this is just it. I also have to, I want to read Abby Jimenez's backlist, but I don't know where I want to start. So I just have to look. But this is a guy who, once he dates a woman, she goes on to find her soulmate. And this girl slides into her DMs and seems to have the same problem. So they decide, let's date each other so that when we break up, we can go off and find our soulmates. Maybe they'll cancel it out. So, you know, they're going to end up falling for each other. But still, we'll see what happens. The next one is one I'm kind of iffy about. I'm still excited about it because I love this author. I don't know. So this is The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. It's set to come out April 2nd. So Belle's life has always been in the shadow of her mother's mysterious disappearance because Belle was the only one who witnessed the disappearance, but she was only 2 years old, so she doesn't remember it. But when the case is dragged up, when the family agrees for a true crime documentary, all of a sudden Rachel Price shows up again. So it sounds really interesting, but I've only read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Killjoy by Holly Jackson, and I really, really enjoyed them. I'm hesitant about continuing A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because I heard that the trilogy doesn't like end. It's kind of open-ended, and I don't like when something is open-ended and you can kind of come to your own conclusions. I need an ending, you know? But, and I also haven't read Five Survive, which was her most recent release, but we'll see, because this one sounds really interesting, and it might cause me to pick up the rest of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, even though I really do want to read Good Girl, Bad Blood. I don't know. Next we have The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. This comes out April 9th. So it follows It follows Lucia, who is a maid and kind of uses the scraps of her magic to get through her days when she's discovered by her mistress and forced to use her gifts to better the family's place in society. But as she's doing that, she then gets discovered by the disgraced secretary to the king, who is looking to regain the king's favor. But she also has to worry about being Jewish during the Inquisition, and she enlists the help of an embittered mortal familiar whose own secrets could prove deadly. And I believe there's a romance between her and the immortal familiar. It just sounds good. And the cover is really interesting, so there's that too. Then we have probably my most anticipated release, or at least one of my most anticipated releases. This is Against the Dark by Kendare Blake, which is set to come out April 9th and is the third and final book in the Next Generation trilogy. So I loved this series. I love the first two books, and I can't wait for this one. This series follows Willow's daughter, Frankie, who, after a tragic event, has become the next Slayer. So they're trying to discover what happened and where everyone is. So that's what the whole trilogy is about. And then there's like a monster, kind of episodic monster of each book, but there's an overarching mystery to solve. So these are based off Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so you get to see all of the old characters: Buffy, Willow, Xander, Spike. Oz comes back, and then you also see Oz's, I believe it was his nephew, the brother of Jordy, who originally bit Oz and caused him to become a werewolf. So it's a lot of nostalgia, and it's just really fun, and they're also like hints of romance, and I love it. So this is another cover choice, Song of Six Realms by Judy I. Lin. This is set to come out April 23rd. It's a YA fantasy romance. I love fantasy romance, so I'm looking forward to it. The gist is a woman is whisked away from her life of servitude by a mysterious duke, but there is more to him than first meets the eye. But he also helps her unlock memories of her past that could hold the key to stop an impending war. But the catch is she has to first survive all the monsters and deities that are coming to kill her. It sounds great, right? Mysterious Duke. You know there's going to be a romance between her and the Duke. I mean, just, yes. So that sounds great. Next we have Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies by Catherine Mack, which comes out April 30th. The title really just caught my attention. Every time I go on vacation, someone dies. Really? So it's 10 days, 8 suspects, 6 cities, 5 authors, 3 bodies. 1 trip to die for. That's it. I don't know anything else. But it's a book about authors. I mean, sounds awesome. And it's mystery. Love that. Next, we have another book by S.T. Gibson. This is Evocation, and it's set to come out May 28th. Like I said, I read A Dowry of Blood. I loved S.T. Gibson's writing. So this one follows a Boston lawyer who is moonlighting as a powerful medium when the devil comes to collect on an ancestral deal. He reaches out to an old boyfriend for help, but the only way to reach him is through his wife, Moira. But as old feelings resurface, the 3 race to understand those feelings before the devil comes to call. That just sounds good. And it seems like it's a poly romance kind of thrown in there. So we'll see how that's handled. But I did really enjoy how S.T. Gibson handled the kind of romantical aspects in A Dowry of Blood. So we'll see how that goes. Next we have Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is set to come out June 4th. This is the 3rd book in following Icebreaker and Wildfire, both of which I haven't read, but both I'm still really interested to pick up. So this one follows Henry and Hallie. Okay, so this is following Icebreaker and Wildfire. They're kind of like interconnected standalones, I guess you could say. But this one follows Henry and Hallie. He is struggling with a difficult class and stumbles into her book club. She's going through writer's block and feels like if she experiences more of life, she'll be able to write better. So Henry offers to help her with new experiences. So they create this rule book about rules they need to follow, and one of their biggest ones is do not fall in love. So you know they're gonna fall in love, because those things never work. And then we have another favorite author. This is The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center, which is set to come out June 11th. I love Catherine Center's writing. The first book I read by her was The Bodyguard, and then I read Hello Stranger. And I also have one of her backlist books, which is What You Wish For. And she has a lot of books, so I'm excited to get further into her backlist. But this follows Emma, who's a screenwriter, and she's taking care of her father full-time, but she is given an awesome opportunity to write with one of her favorite scriptwriters named Charlie Yates, but he doesn't want to work with anybody. He has recently written a romantic comedy script that failed, and she's brought in to help him, but he doesn't believe in love. So she refuses to give up and sets out to prove him wrong and maybe find something that's more real than fiction. So that just sounds like so much fun and awesome. And Catherine Center's books also always have like a deeper meaning than just a romance. So I just know this one's going to be great. Then we have another Ali Hazelwood. This is Not in Love, and I believe this is another STEM romance. So this is set to come out June 11th. From what I've heard, I believe it's about two people from competing companies, and the guy is trying to take over her company, and they start a romance, but then they know that when the company is finally like taken over, it has to stop. I think that's what the gist is. So that one sounds really interesting, and I look forward to that. Then we have this next one, which is Play Along by Liz Tomford. This comes out June 13th. I haven't read the Windy City series. This is the fourth book, but I do want to pick it up. I do have the first book, which is Mile High, on my Kindle right now, but I have heard that it's not great. Like, the series gets better as the books go along, but I don't know anything about this. It's the fourth book in the series. They're all interconnected standalones, and I believe they follow some type of team. I don't know what the sport is. Or I think they're different sports, because I believe the third one was baseball, but I believe the first one was either hockey or basketball. I don't know for sure. Then we have The Darkness Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. This is set to come out July 9th. I have been waiting for this book for years. So I first read Tricia Levenseller's. The first book I read by Tricia Levenseller was The Shadows Between Us, which is the first book before this one. And I loved that book when I read it. I kind of want to reread it and see if I still feel the same way, because other booktubers have different opinions, and I feel like my opinion might change now that I'm older, but that's that. But this one follows the elder sister of that character, and her name is Chrysantha. I don't know how to explain this, because this family is really twisted. These girls are weird. So the first book follows the sister who sets out to marry like the Prince of Darkness or something, and then kill him for his throne. So this one, Chrysantha's husband dies. He was horrible, controlling, and whatever, and she thinks she's finally set because she's going to inherit everything. But then a estranged grandson turns up to claim what she believes is hers. And, obviously she doesn't want that, regardless of how handsome he is or secretive and his alluring, mysterious powers. She just wants him dead. But there's going to be romance between those two, because that's just the way it is. And then we have The Sky on Fire by Jen Lyons. This comes out January 9th. So this is an epic fantasy with dragons, and I'm in my dragon era. That's it. I'm in my dragon era. I will say I do not think there's any romance in this. I think this is purely like high fantasy or an epic fantasy, but I love me some dragons, so still interested. The next we have The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This cover is gorgeous, and this is set to come out July 9th. This is like a cottagecore cozy fantasy with romance, and she's a librarian. All of my boxes are ticked. So I don't want to know much else, but it follows a woman's unexpected journey through the low stakes market of illegal spell selling and the high risk business of starting over. That was the tagline. I didn't read anything else. Then we have another book by Lexi Ryan. This is Beneath These Cursed Stars, and it's set to come out July 9th. This is another one I don't want to know too much about, but it's a romantic fantasy about a human princess armed with death's kiss and a face shifter on the run becoming unlikely allies when a mission to assassinate an evil king collides with a fatal prophecy. That just sounds so interesting. And I do want to read Lexi Ryan's other books. I don't remember the names of them off the top of my head. These Hollow Vows and the other one that follows that. But I do want to read that series, duology. It's a duology. I believe it's a duology. I do want to read that duology, but this one sounds really good. And then we have a book I've been looking forward to so much. This is The Blackbird Oracle by Deborah Harkness, and it's set to come out July 16th, and it is the continuation of the All Souls trilogy, but this is numbered as book 5. Book 4, which is Time's Convert, follows a different character, and then it goes back to the main characters for book 5. So I'm so excited. The All Souls trilogy follows Diana Bishop and Matthew Claremont, a witch and a vampire who meet, and there's a covenant that says they can't be together because they're different species, creatures, whatever. But then they go through this whole thing. Loved the original trilogy. I have to read Time's Convert, which kind of takes place during, like, I believe, like, the final book, and follows Marcus, who is Matthew Claremont's, like, vampire son, and his love interest Phoebe, who was human. But let's get back to The Blackbird Oracle. This one, we come back. We are back with Diana and Matthew. Now, like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but we follow Diana as she returns to the ancestral Proctor home of Ravenswood and confronts her family's past and her own desire for more power if she can let go of her fear of wielding it. I love the fact that we're back with Matthew and Diana. I loved Matthew and Diana. I really loved the original All Souls trilogy. I had so much fun reading it. I read the first book, A Discovery of Witches, twice, and then read Shadow of Night, I believe it was the year before last, and read the Book of Life last year. And the only reason, they're just so big, and what it is, I'll start it, I'll put it down, I'll pick it back up, I'll put it down, I'll pick it back up. And Deborah Harkness is a historian, so the history in her books is accurate and it can be a little dense, but still loved every one of those books. And I very much look forward to, I'm pointing at it because it's right over my head, picking up Time's Convert, and then The Blackbird Oracle. Cannot wait. Then we have 4 more books. So the next one is The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This one is set to come out July 30th. I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I've read almost her entire backlist. But the first book I read by her was it The Inheritance Games? It was The Inheritance Games. And I recently finished the original trilogy of The Inheritance Games with The Final Gambit. I have not read The Brothers Hawthorne yet, but The Grandest Game, I believe, kind of takes the focus off of just the Hawthorne brothers, like the Brothers Hawthorne. But I don't think there's much I can say about this next book, without spoiling the whole trilogy. So The Inheritance Games follows Aubrey, who is kind of picked by this billionaire to inherit his money, and all she has to do is live in his house for a year. I kind of want to reread this series now. She has to live in his house for a year, but she also has to contend with his family who haven't gotten the money they expected. And he has 4 grandsons, but there's also like puzzles and twists and turns along the way because he was a big fan of like games and things like that. So The Inheritance Games is a great series. I do want to read The Brothers Hawthorne, and The Grandest Game just seems like it's going to be even better. And next we have another one that I'm really, really looking forward to. This is Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Meyer. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I'm sorry. But she did a really great job of, like, what is the word I'm looking for? She did a really great job bringing attention to her original book which was assistant to the villain, by posting little snippets and talking about it on TikTok. And I read it and I loved it. I believe I gave it 4 stars, but I'm so excited for this one. I fell in love with Sunshiny Evie and the grumpy villain who only softens for her. If you look at the author's Instagram, she does these cutie little shorts where she plays each of the characters and shows the villain how the villain just like turns on a dime whenever Evie says something, and it's great. It's great. I also love the little frog that can talk by holding up signs. And he wears a little crown on his head. Just so cute. But the first book ended on a cliffhanger and after a plot twist, and I am on the edge of my seat for this book. I really want to know what happens. Like, something big happens at the end, and I really want to know. And this book is set for like 5 books in the series, and I am so excited. I cannot wait. Then we have Wisteria by Adeline Grace. This is set to come out August 20th. This is the 3rd book in the Belladonna series. I have not read Belladonna, but I'm curious. Because originally I thought it was just going to be a duology. I didn't realize there were going to be more books in the series, but there's that. And then the final book on my list is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This is set to come out August 20th, and I have recently started reading T. Kingfisher, and I've really enjoyed it. I read my first book in like 2022, but this is the most recent release, and it's a dark retelling of the Brothers Grimm's Goose Girl, rife with secrets, murder, forbidden magic. It just sounds great. I really enjoyed T. Kingfisher's Thornhedge, which was kind of a dark fairy tale retelling of Sleeping Beauty, but it was a novella, and I enjoyed that. So I can't wait to see what they do with a full-length novel retelling. That was a lot. So those are 40 books that I'm most excited about coming out this year. Obviously it's February. Some of them have already come out, but still really looking forward to these books. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to coming out. Are any of these books on your most anticipated releases list? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and don't forget to pick up a good book. Bye.